You have questions? We have answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box with your host, Miss Lindsay Schiss.
Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box. I'm your host, Lindsay Schiss, and as always, we are here to answer your tough questions. Any mental health, relational questions we want to hear. So ask away. Remember that you can go to Therapy Utah or you can go to our podcast on Apple or iTunes and you can ask questions and submit them and we will come and interview about it. So today I have with me Kendee Hamilton. She is a therapist at Therapy Utah and a wealth of information. She is always an amazing resource. Anytime we do any type of staffing, I can count on Kendee to have some really wonderful insights. So happy to have you here, Kendee.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Awesome. So Kendee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I actually really love doing therapy. I get a lot of people that, my friends and people that I know well, and they're like, oh, that sounds like a really heavy job. And I'm like, no, it's actually not. I love doing therapy, and mostly because I just see growth. I see healing. I see people changing and feeling better. And it's exhilarating. It's a job that I feel like has impact. It has ripple effects. So I just really enjoy doing therapy. I enjoy working with trauma. I believe that we are wired to heal. We're not meant to have anxiety or depression or kind of be stuck in our bodies or in our beliefs. Like, we really have lots of space for movement and growth, and our brains can heal. And that just gets me excited, whether at work or not at work. I just really enjoy that growth that we have as humans.
That's awesome. I love that you said that. I get that same question. How do you do this day in and day out? Sounds so heavy and hard. And watching people's lives change and being a part of that process or helping them find tools, maybe being their Sherpa along the way it is a work of miracles, and it's amazing to be a part of that. So I love that is your thought on it as well. And to hear your energy behind it, that is why we do the work we do, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Amen. So thanks, Kendee. So we will jump right into the question, and here it is. Lately, I've been hearing a lot about self-care, but honestly, I struggle to know what it actually looks like beyond a bubble bath and maybe taking a walk. How do I know what real self-care is for me, and how do I make time for it when life feels so busy? Okay, such a good question. And I think so many of us are asking that, right? And like we said earlier, self-care is it's a buzzword right now. So what do you think about when you hear the word self-care and this person is saying, gosh, is it just a bubble bath and a walk? What do you think?
Yeah, it definitely is not, although those are nice. I think even some people are like, I can't even get a bath in. And I really truly believe that, if you maybe don't have kids yet, or, you're single, or, maybe you're divorced and you get weekends to yourself, you're kind of forced into figuring out self-care because you have time. You have this okay, what do I do with this extra time that I have? But for those who are in a relationship, in a partnership, and they have children, there's a lot of moving parts into this of okay, how do I be a mom? How do I be a partner? How do I find myself in all of that? And sometimes just even getting a bath is really hard. How do I take a bath without my kids coming in and disturbing me? And I think even a lot of times men don't struggle with this as much. So I don't know that we'll focus a ton with men. I don't usually have to, when I meet with clients, I'm not having to sit a man down and be like, hey, you need to do self-care. This is what this looks like.
Why is that, Kendee? Why do you think?
I think just in historical, society, unfortunately, women they are on 24/7. They're kind of historically been conditioned, I guess, or modeled or told or taught, you're kind of martyring as a mom. You're just going to be a mom all the time and you're going to get up through the night. And it's only recently that there's been more, equal shared of even the household duties and the parenting. Because a lot of the traditional roles were that like the man would go to work and come home and wasn't necessarily super involved with parenting or with the house, and that was just her job, but it was a 24/7 job. And so you've got grandma and great grandma and all these women down your lines that never did self-care. They never had a minute to themselves, or if they did, they didn't know what to do with it. And so it was never really talked about or modeled. And so I think men had that modeled for them a little bit more, maybe even too much, where they were like, I'm going to just sit down because I had a long, hard day at work, and I'm going to sit on this couch and I'm going to watch a sports show, or I'm going to go golfing this weekend. Or they just like, there wasn't shame or guilt around it. It was expected. And so women, if they did do it, or if they, wanted to do it, they felt, I think, a lot of guilt or shame. And so I think a lot of women want to do self-care, but now they're kind of getting caught in like, how do I do it and not feel guilty or feel bad?
Yes. And it's interesting as you say that. I think literally yesterday, I was on the couch, I was doing some work, and I thought I kept falling asleep. My eyes kept closing. And I thought, if I just lay down for 10 minutes, like just 10 minutes. And so I laid on the couch and I put a blanket up, and my daughter came in with her friend, and immediately I felt this it almost felt like I had been caught, like I had done something wrong because I had laid down. And it was not lost on me that today we were talking about this, and I thought, isn't that interesting? Like I literally shot up as if it was wrong that I took a minute to lay down. And again, like, why is that? Why is it that like I can't take 10 minutes when my eyes are shutting and I'm at the computer? I mean, that feels crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting that instead of being proud to model that for your daughter and her friends, like, hey, I'm going to take a nap, and I needed a nap, and like moms need to take naps. Like, you weren't modeling rest at all. Like you were in shame about rest. And dads don't really have that problem. Like the kid will have to go and wake them up. Like, hey, dad, I need to get a ride. Or hey, like they don't shoot up feeling guilt. They just are like, I was tired, I was taking a nap. They haven't had to think about it. And so women, I think just knowing that helps. Like, oh, okay, there's like a lot of history here. There's lots of old modeling and societal modeling that's making this harder. Can be helpful to just know, oh, I'm up against a lot of things. It's not just me and like what I saw with my mom. It's like what we've seen in society too. That your nap couldn't just be like a nice little nap that you were proud to model, and hopefully it'll get better. Like hopefully your daughter and those generations are like, we're going to take a nap and we're not going to feel bad about it. That we can get better at modeling that for the girls.
I love that. And awareness is key. Awareness is first. We have to start with awareness and drop the shame and the story around it. Like, oh, this must mean I'm lazy, or this must mean, whatever it means in our own mind or what we've seen modeled, and do it better, do it differently. And like you said, hopefully she will, because I can hopefully get okay with actually laying down and taking a minute and closing my eyes. And, I'm with you on that fact. Like, I think sometimes we don't honor what our needs are. We're so used to not honoring our needs because there's so many other demands placed upon us. So it's like, you know what, I can't because this kid needs me, or this is happening. And so we put our needs, and we just are so used to putting them on the back burner that the idea of saying my needs matter and I'm honoring them actually feels quite foreign.
Yes, super, super foreign. So one of the things I do with my clients, my female clients, if they're coming in and they're like, I'm so burnt out, I've got all this like stress, and like you can just feel it. Like they're frustrated with their kids. They can't take one more thing. And I'm always like, if I could write a prescription, this would be your prescription. And I'm like, I don't write prescriptions, but if I could, like your prescription would literally, you need a day. And I will challenge my moms, that to take a day. Like they're gonna, whether it's one night, it's crazy what one night will do. Like you're gonna, and cost wise, right? Like, cause everyone has different financial, what they can afford. I'm like, go camping, like take a tent with you and go set up a tent that's easy to set up, and you're gonna sleep by yourself and like wake up and not come back until the next night, and just like see what it feels like to decide when you're gonna eat and what you're going to do the next day. Like maybe you're in a hotel close by or an Airbnb, but like don't have your girlfriends around you. Don't have anybody. Like you're by yourself, and you just got to like take 24 hours at least to just, what am I going to do with myself? And it's a very vulnerable and interesting experiment, because a lot of people are like, I don't know what I would even do. And I'm like, that's good information to go discover. Like, you just haven't taken any time for yourself at all. Like, you don't know, am I going to sleep? Am I going to want to read a book? Am I going to stare at the ceiling because I just need to stare at the ceiling for a minute? And you turn your phone off and your kids will be fine. And like realizing that like you're not the only, like your kids can have that relationship with the other parent, and that you don't need to be the one that they're like contacting all the time. They might be trying to get a hold of you and you're just unavailable.
Yes.
For 24 hours.
What a beautiful experiment, like you said, and probably, like you said, really uncomfortable. I also think there's a part of this that might also come back to like, but I'm important. So this makes me feel important because I'm the go-to person. I'm the one they need. I'm the one that can solve all the things. And I think there might be something there that's a little deeper that we might need to look at too. Like, saying like, my partner can do some of this, or, your dad can figure this out. Let him. But that might be hard for the woman, as we're talking about, right? Particularly to actually step back and go, okay, that actually might feel like losing some control, losing some of her identity or what makes her feel important. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it actually ties into when you feel like your worth is wrapped up in being a parent, or wrapped up in what you get done, or wrapped up in feeling important. And leaving for a day doesn't change you being important. Leaving for a day doesn't actually change your worth. You're still of enormous worth. And when you can start to realize that, it kind of shifts like, oh, I don't have to do all these things to have worth. I already have worth. My worth didn't change when I left for a day and I came back. My kids might be extra excited for me to come back. My partner might be extra excited for me to come back. But the worth didn't change. And that can be really powerful to recognize, like, my worth is always here. And that can sometimes help. Well, it does. It helps make it easier to be like, so then what do I need? If I don't have to do all these things, if the laundry is going to be there no matter what, it's not going away. The dishes are always going to be there. Like, I don't have to do them to feel good or to feel like I'm of worth. Then you can kind of get a little bit more balance.
Yes, absolutely. When you say the laundry will always be there, it's going to be there. I remember people would say that to me and I think, that's the problem. I'll come home and it's still there. Like, I know it's waiting for me. So some of that feels like, oh, I'm actually have to pay Peter to get Paul. Like I'm trying to just kind of manage things, but that still the load doesn't change. And so therefore, am I just pushing things back that I still end up having to do anyways?
Ooh, good point. So here's where that shared responsibility comes in. You should be sharing this with your partner. You're both co-parents. And when I talk to women and they're going to leave for 24 hours, I'm like, you cannot prepare everything. You're going to just leave. So you're not going to have like all the food in the fridge and all the laundry done and like the kids like all set up. Like, the other parent can take care of the things and needs to. They need to be able to like get the kids from school or get home, and maybe they have to take all the kids to the grocery store and get the milk because you didn't make sure that the milk was in the fridge because that's what you would have done. And so there's almost an element of creating that shared responsibility that like, if I go for a weekend or I go for a night and I come back, that my partner didn't just take care of the kids, that they also took care of like the household parts of that. And those are conversations that need to be had that can be really hard to have. And so sometimes women are like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to have to come home to, a tornado possibly, or even just like everything got left. And so they're like, oh, I have to come back and do all the things I needed to get done on Saturday. And now I have one less day. It needs to be a conversation of like, I'm leaving and here's what I normally get done on a Saturday. And I need you to like make sure that keeps staying maintained. And that's where that like kind of coming into fairness with a partner is important, or you're going to start resenting your partner. You can't connect with your partner if you don't feel like you can leave for a day and come back and feel like they took care of things.
Yes, 100%. And like you said, I think having that conversation beforehand, that it is not just assumed and then you come home resentful and it actually feels like you're now farther back than you were when you left, but a conversation that this is the need and this is the hope behind it, and that the goal is, and again, I think it's really this delicate balance, and we're not micromanaging and saying, okay, you didn't do it exactly the way I'm going to do it, and so I'm going to harp on you and be angry about that. But this is usually what I get done in a Saturday, and are you okay with that? Is there some, do we need to have extra additional help? What does that look like? But really being deliberate about that conversation and knowing that coming back to a disaster is actually not going to negate any maybe gains that you had. So to be deliberate about that. And as we're talking, it really makes me think being deliberate matters in this. And I wonder how much of it is as much of, planning, but also a mindset. That this is something that I actually prioritize. And it's not just something I fit in the cracks where there's maybe just a little here and a little there, my 10-minute nap. Let's talk about a little bit more about the mindset around self-care.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about the fact that we have an imbalance, I think, in our society on rest and production. There's a lot of value placed on production. Hustle culture, work harder, and this is where men, I think, can come into the picture with this. A lot of men, their worth is wrapped up in how much they're working and how much they're making and how valuable they are at work. And they can get wrapped up into their production and the production being everything. And rest is important. We have to have a balance. If we're only in production, we're off balance. We're now tipping the scale in this way, and our bodies aren't getting the rest that it needs. And eventually